Hey everybody, you're on the Acid Primer channel. With this manicure my client was exactly a month. To be honest, for these hands it is already a long period of wear. Here we have hands a little problematic. To be more exact, my client has very wet skin. The nail plate itself is very moist and plus the client constantly works with water. That is such nails better to wear 3 weeks. But here we have everything intact. Nothing fell off. It happens rarely, but mostly there are detachments. If the coating is very overdone. So today you could still say my client was on time. And today will be a fairly simple manicure, just strengthening gel, which I performed for 65 minutes. So today we can talk about the speed. Absolutely all the stages from which we start the manicure, that is, this removal affects the speed of further coverage. During removal we can find a large number of peeling, twisted nails. It can also affect the further process. It's easier to remove nails that we have without peeling than nails that came with a lot of peeling. I know what I'm talking about, and for example, while a normal removal can take up to 10 minutes depending on the length of the nails, a peel-off removal takes at least 15 minutes. I don't think I'm the only one, and already at the stage of removal we should have a clear scheme of what we are going to do. It is very important to know what color we will have. If it will be camouflaging, the material that we have left, we need to understand whether to leave it or not. So if we had some, for example, bright pink gel, and this time the client wanted something lighter, milky or natural, then of course this pink should be removed completely, because it will still show through. If it will be some dense coating, which we know that it will overlap the nail plate, then do not bother. And we remove only excessive volume of material, and if there are some detachments on the free edge we try to leave at least a minimum layer of material to whiten the natural nail. If the client has pecking nails, then of course we leave a little more material. Here we are up to the preparation of the nail plate. Here I use rubber base from the brand Runnail. This base is very well worn on wet hands, and on these hands I also additionally used a dehydrator. As I said, as a coating we will have camouflage gel, and here everything according to the standard scheme. First thin layer overlap the entire nail, and then we transfer to the cuticle area and pull the material down along the central part of the nail. To perform a quick strengthening helps us well-prepared nail plate. During removal we look that the nail we had a smooth, that there were no dimples and bumps, otherwise if we leave these dimples and bumps then it will not work so quickly to level the gel. Therefore, when removing try to smooth the nail, so that it was as even and smooth as possible. If someone does not know how to do it with a cutter, then you can use a file, but it is much longer. Therefore, it is best to choose the optimal cutter, which will and fast. At the same time well smooth the material on the nail plate, and then you just do not have to saw it all with a file. It significantly reduces the time of work. It is also important to perform a good, clean manicure, so that there are no pieces of skin sticking out, no hangnails, no burrs, so that there is no nail plate must be clean, and then the strengthening can also be done quite quickly. Another point is the amount of material that we lay out. Here you also need to understand why we need so much material, whether we will remove the length, or we will leave it where it is necessary to lay out the material, where it should be minimal. That is, if you just take and splooge at a whole bunch of material, and then it all sit and saw, then of course we will not be able to perform a manicure very quickly. For example, I know that my client always removed the length as much as it grew out, but I do not remove the length at the stage of removal, because I know that I need the volume of material on the free edge, because the nail's a little bit pecked, and plus I need to cut the natural nail. If I remove the length, remove all the volume of material, that is, leave the bare nail, which I need to cover with gel, then of course no thickness on, there's no thickness to it, it will just be thin. So then what do? We just pile a bunch of material on the free edge. First of all, there will be a lot of it, and secondly, it will be unevenness that we don't need at all, which we will have to cut down later in the process. So why do double work if you can leave some length? We remove it later and we get an even surface, and plus we open up the thickness in the end, which we cut out. We get a nail that won't peel off because we've cut out the natural nail. And plus we get an arch. The main volume of material when laying out gel we should be reduced to the free edge, that is, in the cuticle zone, and in the zone of the side walls we have a minimum layer of material. In this area of the nail is very thin, mobile, and if you pile a lot of material there are likely to be peeled off. I know, there were such cases, when I came to me new clients and there was a lot of material and all held. I strengthen my nails in this technique. I first strengthen the big nails one by one and then go to the 4 remaining nails on one hand and on the other hand. And here the technique I will work in depends on the nails of the client arched, they are not arched, and also the consistency of the gel. If it's, too liquid, I can work on one nail at a time, but 2 liquid gels probably do not happen, so most often I work in the technique of 2 nails and it is also quite fast. If the consistency of the gel is very viscous, very often such gels are with glitter, with any tile, then most often I perform reinforcement on 4 nails at once. I just distribute the material on the central part of the nail and it does not flow anywhere, as the zone of the side walls, the zone of sinuses I have, and only after I have laid out on 4 nails, I already thin brush begins to hammer these places. It also approximately comes out if you work with gel of medium or closer to liquid consistency. Because during the time we put the gel on the 4th nail, on the 1st and the 2nd nail is already more or less leveled independently, 2, literally, movements of the brush, the nail is completely covered with gel and it remains to distribute a thin brush on the remaining 2. This gel is also with pieces of flakes but its consistency is very convenient, it is well quickly, and I really like working with gels of this consistency. Strengthening is done. It remains only to make a file and cover the nails with top. Here I sometimes work in 2 different techniques. That is, I can first perform filing completely and length, and trim the shape, and I can also remove some swoops on the side walls, cover the top and only then remove the length. Nothing much will change if we work with camouflage gel. That is, I like to remove the length after the top when I have some colored coating, for example, colored gel polish. That is, we have a gel, for example, we gel sod, we have made a clear shape and then begin to cover with color, and here from 2 layers of color, yes, even from 1 layer of color can accumulate on the free edge of such small influxes, and nothing, but not such a clear free edge turns out, plus still on top of the top, and this is already 3 layers. Therefore, in such a situation, I like to work already all with a sawdust after the top. Naturally some minimal saw I will still do before covering with color. I mean, for example, I removed the sticky layer, went over the side walls. If I saw any bumps on the surface, I went over, removed them, then I do a color top, length file and shape file. And more than once I have shown this technique in our videos. You can look at the end result of the manicure. The fact that in this way you can also achieve a clear shape and not be afraid to file the length after the top. Here I use a top from Runnail. It is suitable for light shades, it has a convenient consistency, it is quite liquid, but at the same time it does not run off anywhere. Such tops I can work immediately on 2 nails if I do not need any alignment, that is, here we have no design, I covered a thin layer of 2 nails, the lamp and so on the conveyor belt. Here is such a gentle manicure I got in 65 minutes. If you still have any questions, ask them in the comments. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Bye bye, everyone.